I'll bring it up here tomorrow. I meant to actually bring it tonight. No, that was on me. He's one of us. He's my only. Just waiting on you, Mr. Black.
Get to turn my phone though.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call the BDS committee to order. It is 6:01, September 7th, 2021. All committee members are present. Ms. Kuznar, the chair of the committee, though, is present remotely, so she will be a panelist via Zoom. That brings us to our first public comment period. Do we have anybody that would like to comment? Please give your name and address for the record.
Name is Monroe Free, 602 Rosebud Lane, Greer, South Carolina. Habitat for Humanity here in Greenville County, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the issue about us getting a business license. We met with the Planning Commission, I guess 2 weeks ago, where they saw things our way, and we hope you will too. But Habitat is one of the leaders in Greenville County for on affordable housing. We provide affordable home ownership, which nobody else does in our community. We'll soon have 400 houses that we've built in Greenville County, and we'll do about 13 new mortgages this year. And we will do about 40, 45 repair projects. We just finished one here in Malden for a veteran's wife who needed a new roof. We do that work too. So, always the question of nonprofits is, does it work? Well, I will tell you that our mortgages are paid on time at an over 90% rate. And I will tell you that our foreclosure rate is less than 1%. It's a program that works. It works for families. It works to give them an opportunity not only to change their cash flow, because we guarantee that their mortgage will be under 30% of their income, but it allows them to develop wealth and change generationally the financial position of their family. It literally changes the trajectory of a family. Education changes. 68% of our families tell us that their children's grades improve. Health improves. But it's not just families, it's neighborhoods that are better because of Habitat homes, because we prepare our families to be good neighbors and to participate in their neighborhoods. And because our houses raise the property values of homes in their neighborhood. So it's good for families and good for neighborhoods. And I guess when I look at Greenville County, I see, and you've read it, you know it, that we have a crisis of affordable housing, literally a crisis, with well over 12,000 homes, 12,000 home shortage in Greenville County. The city of Greenville just has been dropping about $2 million a year into affordable housing. The county just announced a $5 million investment into the county. Private businesses, corporations, foundations are adding to that money because people see the economic impact. If you want people to work the jobs, the low-wage jobs in your community, they've got to have a place to live. There's an economic impact to this lack of affordable housing. So Habitat determines, Habitat raises a third of its revenue through our restores. So when you say you can't have a business license to operate a restore here in Malden, what you're saying is we're going to limit your ability in this county to build affordable housing. And there could not be a worse time to do that. I understand the issues with the thrift stores. But if you look at our thrift stores, we do not operate that way. We don't have drop boxes. If you look at our 2 thrift stores that we have right now, they're tip-top shape. They look good from the outside. Our signage is good. We're not going to be a bad partner. If we're a bad partner with you, it affects, and Malden, it will affect everything we do. It will affect people's willingness to give money to us. It will affect volunteers. We have to do everything we do really well because we're dependent upon that public. So, I hope you'll follow the Planning Commission's recommendations. Hope you'll do. When they looked at it, they said, man, Habitat, we see it your way. We want you to be a part of this community. I hope this committee will say, Habitat, we want you to be a part of this community. Thanks.
Anyone else?
My name is Mark Steenback. I'm the Chief Resource Officer for Habitat for Men of Greenville County. My address is 24 Trail Stream Drive, Malden, 29662. My goal, hopefully, today is to tell you why all thrift stores are not created equal. My role is to oversee those stores. I have over 12 years of experience doing so, seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly of what thrift stores can be. Certainly, to Monroe's point, our goal is that we run one of the cleanest and one of the best. And that's what I hope that you'll hear from us today. We operate in a clean, organized, and neat way. Like Monroe said, we care about the community that we become a part of because we want that community to support us. And if we come into that community and become a problem for that community, we can't expect that support. We pride ourselves on being complimented, and we hear this often. This doesn't look like a thrift store. That's what we want to hear. We communicate internally to all our staff that we are a retail store, not a junk store. We just happen to sell donated items. We are donor and shopper friendly. We're easy to access. We run safe stores. We are constantly improving our processes there and making sure that our customers are taken care of well. We do separate entrances for donor drop-offs and shopping entrances. That way we don't have any issues with things piling up in the way or piling up outside. Again, we want to reflect well on the community. Right now, we see about 900 people a day between the two stores we have on Wade Hampton and Woodruff Road. I expect that this location would double that as far as foot traffic goes, and we would expect between 700 and 800 on average. And on the weekends, obviously, that could more than double. We don't use drop boxes. They're dirty. They're an eyesore. And to be quite honest with you, they're poor stewardship of the donor's trust because it doesn't take care of the donor's donations well. And when donations are given to us, we recognize as the donor's trust in us. So we want to make sure that we continue to be good stewards of and earn the trust of our donors and our supporters. Our expectations for this location, like I said, we expect to see over 700 people a day on average through this store. We expect in the first full year of operation to generate enough revenue to provide the money necessary for 2 new construction. When Rose says 1/3 of our revenue comes from these stores, that's exactly what it is. And this store conservatively will cover the cost of 2 new homes in its first year. And we expect within 3 years, that'll be 5 or more homes that it's providing the revenue to cover. It provides the citizens of Malden with convenient access to affordable new and used items, appliances, furniture, flooring, tools, construction materials, household items, all these things and more. Very convenient and easy way for our citizens to be able to find those things. It diverts waste. It will save the city money. Right now, I see a couple things sitting on the side of the road in my neighborhood. Useful pieces of furniture that I'm sure if that store was open just a couple minutes away would be dropped off there instead of sitting out front waiting for the trucks to come by and pick it up. It'll save the city money. And last year we diverted over 3 million pounds of material from the landfills to our 2 stores. I believe, initially this location will probably create around 12 jobs. By the end of it, with what it'll create for us in capacity, I expect this location will be the means for 25 more jobs throughout our organization in terms of supporting other areas. And again, you want to raise the bar for thrift stores. That's what we've done at every location we've gone to. That's what we intend to do here in Malden as well. And if I may, just stepping outside and taking the hat off of leader in the organization of Habitat and just standing here as a citizen of Malden, I just am concerned about the look that this sends and the communication that this sends, that we are saying that certain businesses or certain people aren't welcome. That bothers me as a citizen, and I hope, again, like Monroe stated, that you all will take what the Planning Commission saw as reasonable, pass that along.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Kevin Conway, and I work for Wheeler Real Estate, the current owner of Butler Square Shopping Center. My address is 3209 Hartford Way in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I just want to give everybody a little background on our company. We are a publicly traded REIT, grocery anchored REIT. We have about 70 properties from Washington, D.C. along the coast down to South Tampa, Florida. This particular shopping center we've owned for several years now. We have relationships with almost every grocery store really from the Midwest and the Southeast. And our struggle here, backfilling the BILO, really is finding another grocery store. Just as an example, we have 16 Food Lions in our portfolio. We have a great relationship with them. We met with them about a month ago to do a portfolio review and obviously talked about Butler Square. It's not happening. They're just not going there. There's too much competition. It's harder to find employees. And really the grocery store, if you look across the country, across the board, the profits are getting smaller and smaller. And so with that, they're just being more particular about where they're going to open up. So we would love to have grocery here and replace BILO. But I think everybody knows BILO's lease doesn't expire for 2 more years. It can sit dark, it can sit vacant, which I don't think helps the community. Or the other, shop owners, within the shopping center. Um, you know, we've been working, or I've been working with Habitat now, probably going back almost 6 months. Um, and I think we, have a good relationship with them. We know what they want to do. Um, and we like to partner with them. So, I can tell everybody we've met with, I can go through a list if you want, Hobby Lobbies of the world, furniture stores, all the soft goods, Harris Teeter, Kroger, Lidl, Aldi, KJ's, Lowe's Foods, Piggly Wiggly. We're gonna try to get Publix to relocate next door, and we're just not getting anybody to take it. So from a landlord owner's perspective, I think we have to look at alternative uses, whether that be somebody like a Habitat. A lot of people in our category as a landlord, they're turning these boxes into medical uses. We're good friends with somebody out of Charleston that's turning these boxes into public storage, which, obviously we really don't want to do. So, kind of just to back up what everybody else said, we'd like to partner with Habitat for this location, and not have it be vacant for the next 2 years. And hopefully consider, or the committee considers, passing the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, there will be another public comment period at the end of this meeting. So for now, we will move to reading and approval of minutes. What do I hear?
Move be accepted as distributed.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Kuzner, are you with us?
Second, sorry. Y'all are gonna have to give me just a minute because I'm gonna keep on mute.
No worries.
I've got a little bit of background noise going on, so, but yeah, second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved as submitted. At this point, we will hear from Mr. Deerhog.
Good evening, committee. Just a couple of quick things tonight. As far as our budget goes, we're in great shape. Ideally, we would have at least 83% remaining at this point in the fiscal year in our budget for our department, and we right now have 88% remaining. So we're ahead of the curve right there. And then just to comment that our inspections and permits continue to be high, and last month was another record-setting month for us.
Thank you, Mr. Deerhog. Any questions for David?
Have none, Chairman, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. May not want to go too far now that we're going to get into new business. So that brings us to new business, and ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Bolac Properties LLC. David, you want to take that one?
All right, thank you, Mr. Matney. And these next two items will go together. These that are side by side with one another. They are each 16 acres, and they are represent an extension to a subdivision inside the city called Chestnut Ridge. The Chestnut Ridge subdivision was annexed into the city about 2 years ago, and these additional 32 acres will aid in their access. They will be able to, with this annexation, put in an access that will line up with Reedy Fork Road on Fork Shoals Road. It will allow them to also add a few more homes to their project, and also is going to give them a commercial out parcel, or the city a commercial out parcel at the corner of Fork Shoals Road and Union Church Road. This request includes a request to bring these in as R10 residential with the out parcel at the corner zone C2. The rest of Chestnut Ridge is already zoned R10. So the zoning that they've requested to be assigned will go right along with the rest of the Chestnut Ridge subdivision. I mentioned that this will allow them to add some homes to their project. To be more specific about that, what this will do is allow them to add 139 detached homes with this 32 acres. Sewers all there, utilities are all there. We have an agreement with South Greenville Fire District. This is to respond to emergencies there. This is almost right next door to their fire station. I'd answer any questions you may have about these two annexations.
Any questions for Mr. Deerhog?
David, the C2 is the portion in red on this all in here.
Correct, sir.
That's, part of that second 16-acre tract.
Yes.
2 acres.
Yeah, it's about 2.8 acres.
The rest of the R10 request.
Correct.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Kuzner, anything for Mr. Deerhog?
I don't have anything at this time. Thank you.
With that, do I have a motion on these two ordinances?
Chairman,
I'll make
that-
them.
Go ahead, Ms. Cooper.
I'll make a motion to forward these two items to council for review and approval.
There a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Going to go ahead and move these forward to council for review and potential action. That brings us to our third item of new business, an amendment to the Malden zoning ordinance, establishing definitions and to establish the zoning districts for which they can locate. Mr. Deerhog.
All right, thank you, Mr. Matney. And this is coming to you by way of the Planning Commission. They held a public hearing and reviewed a draft ordinance about 2 weeks ago, as was mentioned. I provided you in your staff report a summary of the public hearing comments that were provided. In total, there were about 7 individuals who spoke at that public hearing, all in support of in support of thrift stores in general, but redacting some of the standards that were included in the draft ordinance at that time. Specifically, there were 2 standards in the ordinance having to do with separation from residences, that a thrift store or consignment store would need to be separated by at least 200 feet from any residential use, and also that a consignment or thrift store would need to be located in a multi-tenant shopping center. The Planning Commission, in their review of this draft ordinance, recommended approval of the ordinance, but also recommended that those 2 standards be stricken. So you'll see in the copy of the draft ordinance that you received tonight has a line through those 2 standards. And there's also one other revision to the ordinance that you're looking at tonight, and that is the findings. At the recommendation of the city attorney, we made a few adjustments in the very front section of the ordinance where the whereas statements are contained. The rest of the ordinance, though, contains standards for how thrift stores and consignment stores would be allowed in the C2 zoning district. And I also provided for you in the staff report a summary of the different regulation types that are found in other communities who have ordinances and standards for thrift stores. Not every single one of those regulation types was put into the draft ordinance. Certainly a number of them were. If the committee or the council has interest in including any of those provisions or other provisions, or even the provisions that the Planning Commission has stricken, certainly leave that up to you to discuss and decide. But please keep in mind that tonight, the draft ordinance version that you're reviewing has a line marked through the first 2 standards at the recommendation of the Planning Commission. And if council or the committee wanted to do anything differently, need to be explicit about that so we know how you want to adjust the ordinance. If you find that adjustments are necessary.
We have a motion on the amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we, forward this to, full council for further discussion. And I know that there's been a lot of discussion, pros and cons on this particular business going in over there, but I think they do a lot of good. So I'm gonna have to wait and do some more homework and all before I cast my final decision. So I'd like to see us move it to full council and get input from the full council at that time and the regular council meeting this month.
We have a motion from Mr. Black. Is there, a second?
Second,
Is there additional discussion?
I am, I would also like to hear from full council on this. I do have a few concerns, but, I would like to hear from full council, before I speak.
And I'm with you, Ms. Kuzner. I think that everybody needs to have a say in this. I have very definite thoughts, but think that we need to have this discussion as a group. Mr. Black.
David, going over your list of on your research, which I commend you for doing all this different cities and towns and states, was Florence the only one in the state of South Carolina that had any rules, regulations pertaining to thrift stores?
That was the only one I could find. It's possible there's some others out there, but I went through a whole number of them, thinking of the ones that I thought had a chance of having something. That was the one I found.
Yeah, I know there's several in Minnesota and other parts of the country, but that's the only one I saw around here that you could get information from. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of moving this forward to full council, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. We're moving this forward to full council for additional discussion and possible action. That brings us to our second public comment period. Is there anyone who would like to speak? All right. Hearing none. Do we have any committee concerns? Hearing none. What do I hear on adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned at 6:26.
I'd like to call to order the Public Works Committee meeting for September 7th is 6:29. At this time, I'd like to also everyone, if you're, I'm a little raspy, my voice. I got a little bit of a cold. I did get it checked. I do not have COVID. I was tested yesterday. Just want to let everyone know that. So,
Be honest, you were screaming at the game this weekend, weren't you?
no, well, internally, silent, my inside voice. I call this meeting to order. I have with me Mr. Reynolds, Mrs. King, also Mr. Fleeman and Mr. Madden. So I'll start with public comment. Is there anyone here as a public comment? Referring to Public Works? Okay. With that, we'll move to reading and approval of minutes.
Motion to approve as submitted.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion, is there any discussion? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Ayes have it. All right, next item is the, let's see, Mr. Freeman discuss the inmate labor.
Before I get to inmate labor, I'd just like to say that for budget purposes, we're right in line with where we need to be. We have ordered some of the capital items. Obviously, they haven't come in, so we haven't spent the money. Purchase orders have been issued for vehicles in both the sanitation and sewer divisions. So for inmate labor, Mr. Mann asked me to come up with an analysis to kind of show the historical background of the use of inmate labor, the cost of inmate labor, and some prospective costs moving forward as we move forward with the purchase of sidearm trash trucks. We have already ordered 2 sidearm trash trucks as part of the capital purchase for this 21-22 fiscal year. And there is some, there's going to be some time before they get delivered. Lead times on materials and chips and metal costs have gone. So while we got the order in right away, we're probably not going to see those trucks until the beginning of next year. All right. So historically, we've used inmate labor. Just a little history. Back in March, when we went into quarantine, inmates were taken away from us. And for approximately 3 months, we fielded all the sanitation with division employees riding the back. We fell behind on a lot of duties, the baseball fields and other aspects of road maintenance and sewer maintenance. So the decision was made that we would explore using temporary employees to fill some slots, not all the slots, just some of them, so that we could free our staff up so that we could continue to maintain a level of service that is appropriate for the city. It's now August 2021, and we still don't have inmates. There's still no hard, fast decision of whether or not they're going to come out. They don't know. It's month to month, but it's now a year and a half later, and it's that they're not available. So as part of this month-to-month analysis, Brandon asked me to kind of, work back of the envelope calculations to kind of show what it's costing the city in our current manner of providing sanitation services and compare that to what we actually spend on inmate labor. Right now, we send out 4 trash trucks, 2 recycle trucks. We require 10 riders. We get about 8 temporary employees, and 2 slots are filled every day by Public Works employees. And we rotate that so everyone rides. Sometimes some people have to drive. I had to drive trash this morning, just to let you know. We have some sicknesses and COVID in the division, so. But anyways, as part of the 10-year, we are purchasing these vehicles, and when we have the sidearm trash trucks, the number of riders that are required is going to be reduced. So, looking down the road, we get these in Christmas, early spring. We don't need the riders because there's going to be drivers. So what you're left with in the second page of this evaluation was the costs that we actually allocate for inmate labor. While inmate labor is, some people view it as a free source of labor, it's not free. We pay the Department of Corrections per inmate per day, fixed rate. We have to take staff who are allocated to other duties to pull them off to provide supervisory duties. To ferry we have to pick them up and drop them off. That tends to actually create overtime work for some of the drivers. That has a fixed cost associated with it. Additionally, we, have to break off staff to pick up and order and pick up all the lunches. There's fuel costs associated with driving our bus up to Spartanburg every day. And so what I've done is kind of itemize these fixed costs to just kind of show with what we have budgeted for what we spend and for the fixed costs, what it actually costs for, having this inmate labor force. I went further in the description here and broke down what we're actually paying for the temporary employees. Temporary employees are great. They show up every day. Don't have to pay their insurance. We don't have to pay, retirements. They come, they give a hard day's work, they get paid, they go home. In the end, the cost of providing the inmate labor is cheaper than the temporary employees, marginally. We're talking about what, $16,000 in an annual cost, the difference. The one thing that I didn't include in here, and I really didn't think about it till it was after it was done, is that, pre-pandemic, when we were using inmate labor all the time, we had a staffing level in sanitation. We have that exact same staffing level in sanitation now. We were only sending out 3 trash trucks and 2 recycles. Because the city has grown in the last 3.5 years, I've been forced to actually put a 4th truck out every day. And so that one driver who's now driving every day was the one person who took care of a lot of the duties when we had inmates. And I forgot about this until I started, doing the math in my head. And I wish I had included it, but, apples to apples, we don't talk about staffing. There's a marginal difference. To actually have the staffing levels to be apples to apples, it actually is going to require another person. And in that, at a cost of an annual salary, let's just say $35,000 plus the cost of insurance, retirement, FICA, everything. Yeah, that's about $17,000 a year. So $35,000 employee coup, but the actual use of inmates costs more than the temporary employees. But that's money, and you guys get to decide how to spend the money. But that's the math, and that's what I've been asked to show you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free, and I'll answer them for you.
Mr. Chairman, the bus that the inmates ride,
Mr. Reynolds, yes.
where was that funded from and how much did that cost?
We sold a bunch of old, decrepit, useless
That's what I
equipment.
remember, I'm trying to remember what happened. That's what I thought happened. is we sold
So
equipment.
we surplused a lot of the scrap that was at Jenkins, and we ultimately generated, I think it was $26,000 in revenue, and we bought the bus for 22 or 23.
Which was also not included in here,
Right.
cost of the bus. Okay.
And we have it, and it works, and, what's that?
It can be surplus.
It could be surplus. It could be given to Barton Recreation. We could just continue to use it for the city, or we could get inmates with it every day. For you guys to decide.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Fleeman, I just wanted to thank you for the cost evaluation chart. It's very easy to read. And as a financial person, I appreciate just the numbers are right in front of me. I also appreciate the variables that were mentioned that are not included in hard cost. And I think that's something that we all know, but the public doesn't necessarily understand these variables, as the last couple of weeks have been talking to folks in the community about this. And as you said, a lot of people just assume that this was free. And I'm like, no, it's not free. I mean, number one, we have to pick them up and take them back. So, and that's just the beginning of it. So again, thank you. And it pretty much validates what I thought we were going to see when it came right down to the cost. That's all I got. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one other quick question, I'm sorry. Mr. Fleeman, have you had any opportunities to hire on employees who have worked as temps and done an exceptional job and look at them as an employee who would come on with the city at some point?
As a matter of fact, we have.
Good.
We've gained, we've hired 4, but only three remain.
Okay.
But they are all, outstanding employees. We have them in parks and in sewer. So they've come on, they've worked hard and proven themselves and given them opportunities. And to be honest, it's a lot better of a method than just sitting across the table and being like, hope this guy can do public works. You know, they have to log 540 hours with the temp agency to fulfill
Right.
their contract. So we're given a very long interview process, and it helps us weed out. Because to be honest, there is a high turnover rate in public works. A lot of people think it's easy. It's just cutting grass, picking up trash. It's not for everyone. It's very easy to wash out. And having this process through temporary labor, even if we still bring inmates back on, this is the way that we need to go to fill staffing positions.
Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at through how this got to where it is. One of the real benefits from a management's perspective is what I would imagine is exactly what you're saying, is having a prolonged interview period with potential employees. That's what those guys should be looked at as, is given a chance to come on and work for the city. But good. Okay. Appreciate all your hard work on it. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank you as well. Witness is exactly what we're looking for, put these numbers together. As we've discussed previously, morally, I've had a concern about this regardless of the funding. Most of the people in Malden do not know we use inmates in the back of the trash trucks. And the moral issue as far as using prison labor, right? There's an issue or taking advantage, not taking advantage. There's a discussion there. At the end of the day, everybody's safety is number one. There could be a problem. Hasn't been, may never be, but there's a risk there. And I don't think the citizens are aware of even the risk existing.
You know, we've had runners.
Oh, yeah. I was right. No one's been injured, correct?
That's correct.
That's what I was referring to. Yes, I'm aware of the runners and the adventures. With that, I mean, in my mind, I was ready to kill this without the funding. And with that, I think that's my opinion. But I appreciate you bringing this to us, and thank you for this. This is great. This is just what we needed. Any other questions?
Just one other comment. Thank you for driving the truck today. You might get to drive it tomorrow.
I think I am.
I was going to call somebody hit my mailbox today.
I was on the other side of the city.
Or damaged your can.
There you go. That's right.
Sorry, had to.
Absolutely. All right, no other questions?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. With that, there's no actions to be taken in this, correct, Mr. Madden?
That's correct.
All right, there is no unfinished business. There is no new business. Any public comment? Anyone online?
No one's indicating they would like to speak.
All right, committee concerns. All right, what do I hear on adjournment?
Make a motion we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we adjourn. Thank you.
Next up is Recreation Committee.
If you're ready. I'd like to call the September 7th, 2021 Recreation Committee meeting to order, please. Members present, Mr. Taft Matney, Mr. Michael Reynolds, myself, Dale Black, Mr. Bart Kumalander, the Recreation Director, and Mr. Brandon Madden, the City Administrator. This time we have a item on for public comment. Anyone wish to speak publicly, we'll get back at the end of this meeting and give you another opportunity. So, not seeing none, move on to the next item. The Recreation Committee meeting for July the 12th, 2021. I'd like to state the reason this is July, not August, is because Mr. Reynolds and myself were out of town on family vacation, so we did not have enough, and Mr. Matney couldn't conduct the meeting by himself, according
As
to
good
law.
as he is, he couldn't do it. huh?
I could have tried.
Felt like that had been against the rules. So what I hear on the minutes of July the 12th, 2020,
So moved.
have a motion to be accepted by Mr. Matney. I have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Reynolds. Any discussion, additions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. All right, we're moving right along to the next item is report communications from city officials. Mr. Kumalander.
Thank you, Mr. Black. A couple things, budget's in good shape. We've had a staff change at the senior building, so I have slid one of our folks that was in recreation, senior center. He's filling in to fill that vacancy of our program coordinator in the senior department. Also, I'll give y'all kind of an update on rec software. We've had some issues with our rec software. We signed a contract with them roughly two years ago. It was owned by city of San Andrews, and so it since has been sold, and we have had issues. You cannot this program, when we signed the contract with those guys, if you had like a rain delay, and I'm talking to Matthew, we're sending out to our parents. A lot of people don't look at your email 24/7, so they rely on maybe getting a text on their phone. Right now, you cannot do that. Right now, we're relying on our coaches to communicate with our parents. So we're putting a lot on the volunteers to do that. So me and Willie especially has reached out and with our concerns with them, and I'll probably bring it up next committee meeting, just because some of the concerns that we're having. It's just, I get phone calls from people I know that happen to have my cell phone. They get in the system, and they're having a hard time just registering their child for youth sports. And then with their hectic lives, I know I have 2 kids. That's the last thing you want to deal with. It's not trying to, it needs to be more user friendly. So we're working on that. Me and the staff are just dealing with that, and just want to bring that to y'all's attention in case y'all got a phone call saying, hey, I can't register my son at rec department. We're aware of it. And so when I say you register your child, they'll have to go back in there, and we have to go there. Andre, some of the staff just have to go back in there, and we have to do it. So these are the issues that we're having with that right now. So I just want to bring that attention to you, and I'll be happy to answer some questions. Also, me and Brandon met with the rec chair and the mayor last week, and really not concerned, some ideas at Pine Brook Forest. Mayor met with a young gentleman out there. Uses that park tremendously. And he brought some great ideas to the table. And one of them is having a water fountain out there. And I've since priced those out, and also some bathrooms, and renaming the park. It's called Pine Brook Forest Park now. So we can bring that up to council and see if they want to rename the park or leave it the way it is. But so y'all all know, I've got in the CIP for new bathrooms and a picnic shelter this year. So it's going to be, what I'm looking at is a prefab bathroom that just kind of slides in there into that shelter. And you could just put unisex, one bathroom, or you could put a men's and ladies. It's, you start add that stuff, it's going to shoot up the price tag on. So I think that's important for us to do those three things. The water fountain we probably can tackle this year. So I talked to Brandon about that this morning. I got it with Matthew. They can install it. Just need to purchase it. So that's all I have. And y'all got any questions about the E-Track? I'll be happy to answer those questions because that is a big topic with me. I know that it was kind of a big budget item and the city invested some money in that. And I am very aware of that. City dollars trying to save as much as we can, but we are having issues with it. Trying to make it better for the citizens to register a child or daughter in there. And it's just not with that. We're having problems with the sports center. Right now we can do it, but they won't be able to do auto drafts according to them to the first of the year. On your credit card, if you join the sports center, you cannot register. You cannot have an auto draft anymore. So they say they got a program out there, but I think we might be even losing kids because it's so aggravating for these parents to try to register a child. So I just want to let you know, this time around, we're going to really do our homework and make sure we're doing the right software if that's direction we need to go. I just wanted y'all to be aware of it in case y'all got a phone call or somebody stops you in the grocery store or whatever else. You know what's kind of going on.
Bart, I'd like to request one thing. I know your staff probably already thought about during your investigation of the new software provider, that we make sure that the hardware that we have in place is compatible and also that it will tie into the city with finance and all, because we've had some problems in the past with not being compatible, and then we get the software and then we have to buy new hardware. So, everybody has a new, song and dance, it seems like, but, we've replaced the hardware, I think, a couple times at the recreation and other parts of the city. So if it's all possible, I'd like to see us, and I know y'all will do everything you can to make sure that it is compatible with hardware it is in existence now, and it does have the capability, I think, with tying in at the finance department with the money part of it. So be.
Yes, sir. We'll definitely get finance when we start doing those meetings. If we decide to do that, definitely get them involved. And the hardware will check.
Anyone else on committee have any questions, sir? Mr. Matney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Comalander, if the current E-Track system is not salvageable and you decide to move forward with another solution, one request I would have in terms of functionality is that we be able to check in with these infernal things. I think we're all trying to carry less with us and having to not deal with a plastic pass to have to show, but just to either scan and go, tap and go. I'm sure somebody out there has that sort of functionality. So
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Madden. You got anything, Mr. Reynolds?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bart. Appreciate it. And I know you will do your job. You and staff will do your job to check out early before you bring up.
Mr. Chairman, may I bring up one more thing?
Sure.
Mr. Comalander, you had the baseball, softball, football jamboree at Sunset Park a couple of weekends ago. It was incredible. Y'all had an awesome turnout, and hats off to everybody from the recreation department to fire department to the police department. I don't know how the police department kept everybody straight, trying to turn either into Sunset or in the field back behind it, and kept everything in manageable chaos is the only way that I can describe it. But it was a great event, and I saw a lot of smiles on kids and parents' faces. So y'all knocked it out of the park, pardon the pun.
Thank you. I was going to do soccer too, but I figured y'all get too many phone calls that day as well. But yes, it was very good. Thanks to everybody in all departments, Matthews guys. We couldn't do it by ourselves. We are down a person. Willie's still out with his leg, so he's doing better. So, but I appreciate the kind words. Thank you, sir.
Bart, as far as the Pine Forest Park over there with the items you'd mentioned, make sure that full council gets the information, what you find, as far as the cost and the structure wise and all this, so we can make a decision through committee to forward it to full council for adoption if that so be.
The picnic shelter.
picnic shelter, restrooms, and they just.
And I've got it in this coming budget of next year, not this year.
Yeah, on the water, there was a pool out there years and years ago, and there's still a water line.
Yes, sir, it is.
I'll have to get a separate meter, won't we, Mr. Madden?
Possibly, we may have to.
Cause there's probably not a water meter out there now, if it hadn't been used, I don't think in a while, has it?
It is a water meter there.
Is a meter, okay.
Yes, sir.
I just happened to think about that when I was going over this information, didn't know where there's still a meter there or not. That's taken care of then.
Sir.
And as far as the renaming, make sure you get all possibilities of solutions of people and where you want to have a public naming like we did, I think, Sunset Park and all that stuff.
Right, and so back when Sunset was named, I think that was out to the public and just, I think they voted on it. That was in 99, almost 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to scratch my head and remember the
Yeah, the citizens got involved in the naming of the park out there.
correct. Yes, sir.
So if that comes to be where council wants to rename this, I'd like to see us go through the same process.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything, Mr. Coonliner? Mr. Madden, you got anything for recreation this time?
I do not, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving right along, there's no unfinished business. Mark, you might want to come back up here. We're fixing to go into new business and need some motion from you. This goes into a corporate membership, and the staff has done a lot of research and work on this as far as the cost figure for a corporate membership. So if you want to discuss that, Bart, we'd be happy to hear you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Black. Thank you, sir. We've had a couple of residents, or I guess, like Ryan Holmes, and have approached us. Van Brawl got a group in, had lunch. They have committed to, I want to say it's 39 homes up on Butler Road, but we didn't at the time have a corporate rate. We do have a corporate rate. Right now it's at $5, I think, for a corporate rate. And so what we came up with is a chart. Y'all should have it with y'all. What we'd like to do as far as if you have 10 plus or 5+ members join at one time. And what we'd like to also put in there is we would get that money from the front end. Ryan Holmes is right now, they have, would like to buy those up front, and that'd be a kind of a, you buy the house, it's kind of a motivation for them to buy the house because you get a free year membership at Malden Sports Center, not by free of Malden, but Ryan Holmes purchasing those, just being part of that package to buy that house. But at the present time, we do not have anything as far as the rates to do that. And that's the reason I'm coming up to the committee and asking y'all's opinion or blessing, either or, and what y'all's thoughts are on that.
What's the discussion on this rate for corporates? Any concerns, questions?
So we can go ahead and have discussion. I'll go ahead and move that we forward this to full council.
I've got a motion to move this proposal to full council for full consideration by council. I have a second.
Second.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So based on this, Mr. Commissioner, just to make sure that I'm reading this right. So if it's 30 memberships, it would be $350 per membership per year. Okay. And the 15 would be 400 per membership per year, 10 plus 450. Correct. Okay. Do we know how that compares with some of the private sector operations, sports club or?
The staff has looked, and we're almost comparable with the Y.
Okay.
And they're, about parallel what we have to offer with each other. So I will say that
we're better than they are.
yes, we are better than that. And cleaner. One thing too, to bring to light, y'all, we hired a new membership coordinator, and she's getting these questions asked to her. She's going out to these businesses and stuff like that. This would pertain not just for developers coming in, putting housing developments in. It would be other businesses in town where they can get, let's say they get 10 signed up at the time. So that's where reason we're asking to have this, some kind of rating, because right now what we got is $5. So, I felt like that we need to do something to get them in the door. I'm not saying raise the rates on them, but just get them in the door. That's what we're trying to do, is get members in there.
I noticed on this last sheet you got over here, it said the cost above is for each employee's annual family membership. Is that the proposed 35 if you go with the number that quoted on there,
Yes,
$35 a month,
yes,
family membership?
sir.
And another thing that I'd suggest, if the council does adopt this, and Ryan is the one right now that you mentioned, to make sure that they pass on to the people that this would be a one time at their cost factor. If they want to renew it, it'd be on their dime and not Ryan's or the city's.
Correct. They, after that first year, it would go back up. If they just, let's say, unit 1 sells and they want to do it, but unit 2 does not, they have to do it as a group to sign up.
Just make sure if this is adopted by council for a proposed change, that they understand up front that if Ryan does pay for their membership, that it's just a one-time thing, and then it's up to the homeowner to decide if they want to continue it or not.
Correct. Yes, sir.
I can see something coming down the road to say, oh, you bought this for me, so it's not a lifetime, it's a 1 year. Mr. Matty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That just jogged another question. So the number of memberships per organization would likely change over time. Would we put it in policy that we're not looking at calendar year on these memberships, but we're looking at 12 months from the start of the actual membership for that family or for that corporate member?
Start date. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Reynolds?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as I think through it also, I think of a corporate membership with Ryan Homes or a development as one type of membership. And I think of a corporate membership with, name your Samsung. I look at that as a completely different kind of corporate membership. So I think given some thought through retaining that corporate membership is important. So in other words, with Samsung to use our facilities, that would be a corporate membership that we would retain. We'd want to keep that annually. Whereas with Ryan Homes, in the situation that you're doing there, that's a one-time annual thing, and then after that, it's up to each individual member. So I think give some thought through on how you would handle those two different types of partnerships.
Gotcha.
Is that clear as mud?
It's clear.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Mr. Matty, you have anything else?
No, sir, I'm good.
Mr. Reynolds?
No, sir.
I think we had a motion to forward this to full council for input and discussion. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you. So we'll move this to the full council meeting for input from full council and make sure that they have all the information that the committee has if they do not already have it. So everybody's talking on the same page. All right, I see nothing else under new business unless somebody on committee has something that was passed over. I don't see anything. All right, we're moving right on. The next item is public comment. Have any public comment? Mr. Mayor.
Fairfield Drive, Malden, South Carolina. A couple of questions I have on the chart that was in the package here. And a clarification, Mr. Comlander, today's corporate membership is $5 off for the posted monthly fee, not $5. I heard you say $5. Not just $5 flat.
That's water, $5 a month.
I want to be sure that was clarified before it gets to full council. And today's family membership cost, what is it on a monthly basis right now? I don't know that that's in the chart. And then the third thing is I noticed of all the things they get access to is not the basketball court. So I was wondering, today's membership, I think, gets you use of basketball court, but I didn't see it listed here, so just be sure that's clarified.
Full membership, I think, does include that. They got the rock climbing wall in here, but they didn't have the basketball.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other public comments at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move right along. Committee concerns, Mr. Manny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's not a concern, but a congratulation to Kamari Cannon, who turns 12 today. Kamari plays on the Malden Sharks 12U team, and they're playing out at Springfield right now. So I'm going to head over there and wish him a happy birthday. His older brother and my son have been playing football together since they were in Malden Rec a million years ago. So it's good to see Kamari continuing the Sharks tradition.
How old are you? It was a million years ago. We wish him a happy birthday. Any other concerns or Mr. Reynolds?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just an acknowledgement and appreciation to Mr. Cumlander for looking for multiple ways to enhance the experience down at the Sports Center and continue to grow the amount of people there. So thank you for looking for different opportunities to make that happen.
I have no more committee concerns. What I hear on adjournment.
So moved.
Got a motion, Mr. Reynolds. Have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Madden. All in favor? Aye. So we are adjourned. The next is public safety.
Okay. Okay, I'll call the fourth committee. It is 7:08 PM. Present, we have myself, Carol King, Mr. Dale Black, and Mr. Jason Kraling, as well as Chief Miller in council chambers with us, as well as our city administrator, Mr. Madden. And then remotely, we have Chief McHone and Judge Martin. That leads us to our first section for public comment. Do we have any public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to number 3 on our agenda, which is the reading and approval of the minutes from August 2nd. What is committee's pleasure?
This time I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Mr. Carlin. I will second that motion. I believe, Mr. Black, you were out of town for that meeting.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Black. So, any discussion, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from August 2nd, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed, motion carries 2-0. As Mr. Black did not vote due to not being, at the meeting. Next, we'll move to the reports from our city officers. I think Chief McCone is joining us remotely. So Chief, I'll let you go first.
Madam Chair, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. Like I said, we're on track for our, like I said, for our budget and all that. And the only other thing that I've got, just informational wise, is we purchased 17 MDT computers. They are placed on our apparatus now. They're in service. This will help increase, like I said, hopefully with response times, any additional notes that come in through our CAS system, our personnel will be able to see them firsthand.
Good news. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief at this time? No questions. Do you have anything further at this time, Chief McCone?
No, ma'am, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you. We will go to Judge Martin. I believe she's joining remotely as well.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. How are you?
Doing well. Hope you are.
Yes, ma'am, I am. So a couple things. In reference to our budget, we are trending at about 6% under. And I just wanted to provide you all with an update in reference to court proceedings. We are still limiting the number of people that we are allowing to come to court. We kind of expect that to go through the end of the year. And with that being said, if you'll notice, there's plenty of hand sanitizer, disinfectant spray, and disinfectant wipes. We are doing our part to ensure that our citizens are safe when they come into the courtroom. So just wanted to give you an update. If we are to receive a court order prior to the end of the year, I will make sure that you all are aware of any changes that may come because of that.
Thank you for that update, Judge Martin. You beat me to it. I was going to ask you about that. So,
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. I've been trying to update you every couple of months. It's kind of been the same, but we expect that, like I said, to last through the end of the year.
okay, any questions for Judge Martin? All right, we have nothing for you at this time. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
All right, then we have Chief Miller already at the podium.
Mr. Black. Our budget, our ideal is 83%. We're sitting at 89% right now. Full Justice is in town. Also, I'd like to keep, would y'all keep a couple people, y'all thoughts and prayers. We have one of our officers in ICU with COVID and pneumonia, and we also have two former employees that are in ICU. Two of them are. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. We'll definitely keep those folks in our prayers. I would like to add thanks to all of our public safety folks, as Mr. Matney recognized the jamboree that Recreation had. It was, I was out there for a brief amount of time, and it was not surprising, but it's always great to see all of our city departments working together. I think I saw folks from every department within the city. So Public Works and all of our public safety guys. So that, and ladies. So thank you to each of them. It did not go unnoticed. Any questions for Chief Miller at this time? All right. Thank you, Chief. You'll be back up in a little bit, probably. Just gonna stand there? Well, that's good. All right. We have no unfinished business. So that leads us to new business. Under 6A, we have the upfit to the police cars that we will be adding to our fleet. There's a proposal that we have for the upfit of 18 cars. I was impressed with the documentation. I'm sure the mayor had all of those pages in detail. And it was a very detailed request for a proposal. So I appreciate that as well. Chief, I'll let you go ahead and brief the committee.
As you said, we've ordered 18 cars. They'll be here in October, so we sent out the RFP. We sent it out. We got 2 responses back. We had an evaluation. We went over the qualifications, different criteria that we looked for, and at the end of that, we recommended that presented to, or I'm sorry, awarded to.
Does the committee have any questions to direct for Chief? Yes, sir, Mr. Black.
Chief, do they do, most of the police cars in this area or state, or do you know?
They do most of Spartanburg County. They do quite a few in Greenville and surrounding counties. They're, as a matter of fact, they've actually had to rewire some of the police cars that we've had at different vendors.
So their track record is real good. I mean, I know some of the pictures of the way they put the boards and the panels in was real impressive.
Yes, sir. They're phenomenal. They don't cut any corners.
It wouldn't be hard to troubleshoot on those compared to one of the other ones I saw in there.
Right. We went down and looked at one of the vehicles the other day, and all their wires are specifically for a certain thing, and they're all listed like it says light bar left side.
I thought the picture showed a real good layout of the way they did the wiring on the panels and all.
And like I say, anytime we've had any needed, we go down there and take care of it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Madam Chairman. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Yeah, it almost looked like a mini circuit breaker,
Yes.
the way they had that all wired up. I would like to add as well that the financial impact is 250,000 or less, not to exceed 250. And funding has already been approved. I believe that's our capital. So that's not an issue. Mr. Crayland, did you have anything?
The only thing was about the finances, that I believe that was already approved. This is just us saying, oh, that we're okay with this decision, correct?
Yes, sir. We're
Nothing to do
just
with
ordering a contract, but it's already been approved.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion on the floor?
I move we send this to full council for adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of forwarding the upfit agreement to approve the award to Unique Lighting Solutions, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries. All right, thank you, Chief. And then the next item that we have up, let me get to my 6B, pages 57 in your agenda packet. Okay, this is an annual resolution with the Department of Juvenile Justice to approve an annual agreement. This is something that we do.
It's basically a yearly agreement, as you said, it's a memorandum of agreement saying that as far as the rules and stipulations, as far as juveniles, we don't have the facilities to hold juveniles, so they would have to be housed in a deep facility.
What is committee's pleasure for the resolution to authorize a memorandum of agreement with SCDJU?
Move we send this to full council for adoption.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Chief, just daily rate, is this, how much has gone up? I know it goes up every year, which is expected, but $5, $10, or,
I would have to look back at that and get it.
I mean, it's not that, I know it goes up every year, and we do this one and we do the other ones.
Right.
Incarceration.
I don't think it's that, I don't think it's very much from what it was.
Probably not more than $5, best I can remember. Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I was going to bring up the same thing he brought up.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the approval of resolution authorizing the memorandum of agreement with SCDJJ. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. That's all that we have tonight under new business, and we're back to our public comment section. Anyone with a public comment? Not seeing anyone live or online. Is that correct? All right, committee concerns.
I have none.
I have none at this time.
All right, then what do I have on adjournment?
Would we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Y'all, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. Mr. Reynolds wanted me to remind everyone that we'll have 2 more committee meetings a week from tonight on September 13th, which would be our Finance Committee and our Economic Development Committee. Same place, same time.